may, real quick, there are, some sign-in sheets that we're gonna through. So if you guys just, if you could fill in your name on those, they get passed around, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. This is a great group. We do have limited time tonight. We've set aside 2 hours, so that's pretty good. But, and you can take as much time as you want, but we do want to ask that you be respectful that we do have people that want to speak and, don't take too long. And maybe if you've heard things said that, don't maybe be repeated, don't do that, but we'll keep it moving along. And I just want to let you know why we're here. Over the last, I don't know how many years, we would get regularly people calling with flooding as a result of new builds next door. I remember Daniel coming here and he can no longer use his backyard. Or Pat got her new basement or her finished basement completely ruined because of the flooding from a new build next door. So we had a study done. And the study came back with these 13 items, or excuse me, 14 items. You should have gotten a copy of that out on the, out there. If you didn't, please go get them. And we'll be going through that. Our staff is going to talk about each of them before we start. But one of the things that we want to do is really portray what a good neighbor is like when it comes to these kinds of things. Kirkwood is a wonderful place to live. We want to make sure we're taking care of the people who live here and by being good neighbors. So this is why we're conducting this tonight. We want to hear from folks that have been at flooding issues. We've heard a lot from the Home Builders Association. I think I've met with them 4 times. Everybody on this dais has met with them. So we really want to now hear from homeowners and what their issues have been. And then if for some reason we get too late into the evening and you didn't get to say something you wanted to say, the city clerk, our wonderful city clerk, Lori Ashen here, you can always email her and she will make sure to get those comments to everyone on council. Okay? All right, with that, we'll let the staff go ahead and talk about these issues for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me on the microphone? So I'm going to try to do my best of addressing everyone in the room. And we've got a few technical difficulties with the PowerPoint, and so everyone should have a printout of the slides. So my name is Chris Kruger. I'm the Director of Public Services for the City of Kirkwood. Jennifer Brown will also be presenting, and she is the Assistant City Engineer for the City of Kirkwood. Wanted to start off with some key facts for Kirkwood. So Kirkwood, the stormwater system is maintained by Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District. They are the ones that maintain all the pipes, all the inlets that you see on the side of the street. And so it is they have a role in this, however, there's limited funding that MSD has. And so Kirkwood is stepping in to try to attempt to work on this for a solution. Kirkwood, as everyone knows, we have a high rate of infill development. It does affect neighboring properties that are undeveloped or are currently just in its current state that has existed for many years. And Kirkwood is unique that we have a very dense number of lots throughout Kirkwood. So 67% of all Kirkwood lots are under 1/3 of an acre or 15,000 square feet. The graphic that's on that slide is that poster over there. You can see a lot of green on that slide. So the light green on the slide shows all the lots within Kirkwood that are less than 1/3 of an acre. So it affects a lot of Kirkwood. So you can see the scale and the magnitude of what we're trying to address. tonight and through a code change. And we're gonna go a little bit more into that. So as the mayor pointed out, the city completed a stormwater master plan. And that was back in 2025. That included a public engagement process where we had several open house meetings where we engaged the public to get comments, concerns about stormwater problems they have in Kirkwood. So what all that included, so we did the public engagement process. That plan also included a list of prioritized stormwater projects that are of the larger scale. And those are being worked into the budget as we can. Recommended code changes for infill development, which is the focus of what's tonight's meeting, is to get comments from the public. And the focus of tonight is to get the residents' point of view. You know, the mayor indicated we've heard from the HBA, we've heard from the builders. The point is tonight is to hear from the residents in person. There's a QR code on the presentation that goes directly to the stormwater plan. You can scan that with your phone and can go right to that stormwater plan. That's the summary of our plan. On the next slide just shows all of the comments that we got. So it's an aerial view of Kirkwood, and it's to the right of me that far. Picture is that heat map of all the comments of concerns and where the flooding issues are occurring. And so you can see all throughout the central corridor, north to south, there's a lot of flooding concerns. And so I thought that was very, very helpful and very beneficial to the issues that we have in Kirkwood. And so the biggest thing that we are trying to achieve tonight is to look at what our current ordinances are and then recommendations to require certain issues that we see in development, and specifically infill development. And so with that, I will take it over, hand it over to Jennifer. Thanks.
Hello. I'm just gonna kind of run through real quick what all the proposed changes are. Give a little bit of a background, but then, I don't wanna talk too much. I wanna give you guys an opportunity to talk, so. If you have questions on it and what I have to say about it, just fill out a card and come up here and we'll address them at that time. First thing, first I want to give a little background. Ordinance changes are like the overshadowing rules. They're broader. They're not meant to be, specific design requirements. It's like, broader overreaching laws. And then the manual is a design manual, and it tells how to interpret the rules and how you design to the rules. And so, so the ordinance changes. The first one is we want to lower the threshold for requiring stormwater mitigation from 1,000 square feet to 500 square feet. The maintenance projects, if you have a driveway that's dilapidated and you want to remove and replace it in kind, that's fine. If you had a garage that burned down and you need to replace it in kind, that's fine. It doesn't matter if your driveway was concrete, now you put it back as asphalt. Impervious is impervious. That's, that type of stuff. Maintenance projects don't count against you there. And then the second one is maximum impervious coverage on a lot. Currently Kirkwood has no maximum impervious coverage for a lot. And so we're looking at changing that to 55% for single family, 85% for commercial lots, and then no necessary limit on the commercial lots. Currently 98% of the lots in Kirkwood are under 55% impervious. So 98, yeah. So that there's, a minimal number of lots that are even over that threshold. Commercial lots are, in the downtown areas and more industrial areas, it becomes prohibitive to development of our commercial lots if we, you know, put too many restraints on them as far as stormwater. and Stuff like that. This one here, new home basements, basement extension depths being no deeper than the existing basement elevations unless supported by a geotechnical report. That's based on the fact that there are a number of sump pumps in the city of Kirkwood that run 24/7. It's an ice sheet in the winter, it's a moss pit in the summer, and that's because they're in groundwater because the basements are so deep. Number 4, overflow of BMP sump pump discharge shall connect to the public sewer system. As long as it's allowed, that's just a means to try to keep the sump pumps from causing nuisances as much as possible. Sump pump discharges shall not discharge into a stormwater BMP. That's so that the stormwater BMP is there to take on the stormwater and it's not full of groundwater. Stormwater permit refund fee. Some people do stormwater mitigation in their projects and they never call in for a final inspection. This is just a means for us to capture, you know, give them a time limit and then we'll go out and inspect it and they just don't get their deposit back on that. Manual changes. So number 7 is require all impervious areas over 25% of the total lot area to require to be met. Currently, if you have 35% impervious and you take out a patio and put in a garage and you stay at 35% impervious, you don't have to do stormwater mitigation. Problem with that is that a lot of people have put in like patios or broad driveway extensions or other things that aren't currently being permitted. And so that excess stormwater runoff hasn't been accounted for in any way. And then they want to take out something that was never permitted to put in something that is permitted. And that really isn't the intent of how the ordinance was originally written. Is to allow that kind of grandfathering in. Trees used for stormwater mitigation will be included in the maintenance agreement and reported with the city in the city's stormwater GIS system. That's just a mapping system, so we know where the trees are located. And then if for some reason a tree should happen to die, for whatever reasons, within a 9-month period, you'd have to replace it with 2 2-inch caliber trees of non-invasive species approved by the city. This one here, the distance between BMP shall be equal to the 1 zone of influence plus 10 feet. Currently, the distance between BMPs required is 30 feet, which on narrow lots makes it difficult to develop the site. This gives a little bit of leeway on that. It allows these BMPs to be closer together. This still keeps the BMPs separated. The idea is to keep them separated so that the water and, you know, the water doesn't capillary over to the other one. If, you know, they each are doing the job that they're supposed to be doing for the areas that they're meant to treat. Trees used for stormwater mitigation. Tree credit cannot have any portion of the critical or structural root zone impacted by construction activities, and that would be to the tree protection fence, which is 10 feet outside the area of the surface of the trunk of the tree. When you excavate out next to a tree, it can have, it can severely impact the tree, and it might take a few years for it to die, but it's just a way to help preserve those trees that are being earmarked for stormwater mitigation. Also proposing to increase the tree credit from 50 to 150 square feet. This is currently the way it is. It's 50 square feet just for the tree, and it's going to change to 150 square feet, and that's taken into account the tree protection fence, which is 10 feet outside of it. That's using a study that a forester provided me and comparing it to how we do other stormwater mitigation features, and that it's still a conservative number, but I feel it's a fair way. fair credit to give. Grading permit will be required for all flat work and or other added site impervious areas over 100 square foot, not under another building permit. That is an opportunity to catch up, to catch those patios and driveway extensions that aren't currently being caught for stormwater mitigation. Side yards to be graded to the front or rear, depending on the existing drainage patterns, unless there's no alterations to the grades, elevations, and the amount of water discharging over side yard property lines. And no additional grading is necessary. This is to prevent a house up here and the 3-to-1 slope over to your neighbor and all the water running over onto your neighbor's lot. And then we're also proposing to provide to allow for storm tech chambers. It's a specific type of drywall type of chamber. Or another MSD approved stormwater BMP that's allowed to go under pavements. So we have BMP, those types of BMPs under pavements. So now we open it up to the residents.
Jennifer, before we go any further, I just want to remind council that we're here to listen. We're here to ask questions, but there shouldn't be debate among us at this point. Now we're ready.
All right, forgive me if I mispronounce any of your names. Roger Stoshwa.
Yeah, points for Roger.
I gotta know how to.
Congratulations on this child. Thank you. Hey, so I live at 505 South Crescent. At the confluence of Crescent, Woodlawn, and Padre. The reason why I say confluence is after any major grading event, we'll identify what that might be. I have Lake Woodlawn. That Woodlawn goes to my neighbors, the Hiles, and 50 feet of my yard. In fact, I might not make it on the cover of the notes. I did.
Sir,
on the cover.
Can you speak into the mic, just so I can make sure everyone can hear you?
There. Hello.
There you go.
Would you like me to?
No, I think you're good.
This is
Just,
2 minutes.
oh, wait.
I was kind of being facetious. I live on the corner of Crescent, at the confluence of Crescent, Woodlawn, and Ogden. And after every major rain event, it turns into Lake Woodlawn. It covers my neighbor's yard, 50 feet of my yard. In fact, I may not make it on the cover of the Rolling Stone. I did make it on the cover of Webster Kirkwood Times with my kayak. So, yeah, wow. So this is a significant event. This has nothing to do with any new build. Okay, this is just an annual, semi-annual event. So I don't know all this information here, which is very thorough. Thank you. Does any of this go with regard to existing property? Or is this all, are we Kirkwoodians, is this all grandfathered in? There are a lot of very questionable things I have, if it does include people who have existing properties.
So
That's a good question.
those types. So those types of things would be, you know, identified in our stormwater master plan. I don't think that's on our. Is that on our list? We have identified stormwater issues in the city of Kirkwood, and under MSD's Prop S, we're allotted so much funds every year in order to address, you know, regional. That's more of a regional issue, and so we've got a list, and we're working through that list. And when we work through that list, we'll get another list. That's not currently identified. So,
I'm still not clear. My
So-
original question was, people with existing properties. What is involved with us versus a lot of people who have rebuilt, right? No, I can understand.
this is on for new construction, so.
New construction.
So,
Yeah,
so this, what we're talking about now is stormwater issues from new construction. What Jennifer is explaining to you is that we have done a stormwater overall Kirkwood stormwater study.
Yes.
And I don't think we know at this point if Preston, Bodley and Woodlawn are on there, but certainly we can.
Mhm.
You can contact Jennifer.
No, I don't see, it's still not clear to me, where are you going with this? I can understand new build. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, situations with new build. But most of our properties here are older properties, so are we talking about new regulations that you're proposing for old existing structures?
No, none of this, none of this would,
Yes.
none of this would affect, excuse. This is,
Let Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Respond to you. Jennifer, use your mind.
this isn't, this is not for existing, issues, stormwater issues that people might have. Existing stormwater issues for like the lake there at Crescent and all that, has to do with, the stormwater infrastructure system. Storm sewers, are undersized, and that would be something that would need to be done in conjunction with MSD, and, potentially the city.
I saw
So-
some reference to any future plans to deal with existing, stormwater runoff, MSD.
Right, because we're here to talk about these, changes to new build. No.
Well, and I want to
Yeah.
confirm that it's not only new build, it's additions, it's any additional impervious
Yeah.
area. So it's not just new construction.
Right.
I think there's a lot of, Kirkwood residents would be very concerned if this is all of a sudden going to be implemented towards existing structure without the addition of new patio, new build or new addition.
Oh, I mean, if your house is, and if you're doing nothing to your house, you don't have to, you don't have to do these don't come into play. If you're just living your life and having your house.
Bring my kayak up and.
Well,
I don't
We
think.
had a
you can
council
take any
member,
more time.
with a question or comment over here.
Actually, I think Chris clarified it, that it wasn't just new construction, new building, it included any.
It would be nice if that was identified at the outset, because it's not doing that.
okay.
Good
I
idea.
think I
But
appreciate.
Roger,
Yes,
if you connect with Jennifer,
Mhm.
she's got a stormwater study just for all of our existing
I'd
stormwater.
just be interested if you have any plans of implementation of reduction of stormwater.
Yes,
Yes,
there are.
In places.
yes, please.
so connect with
Like
her
regards?
outside of this.
No. It's new pipes, new sewers.
I'll conduct that conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Andrew Huskinhoff,
Got it.
is that correct?
Take it. Hello all. My name's Andy Haskinoff. I am the owner of Frontenac Forestry. I have an office here to do a lot of the work in tree studies within the city of Kirkwood. We're on the right track here. I want to talk about number 10 and number 11. To contradict myself a little bit, trees are not a one size fit all thing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, little trees, big trees, they're all different species. We are on the precipice of being able to start preserving trees and not cutting them down for rain gardens. I like it. We have to increase this number 10-fold for bigger trees. There has to be a positive correlation with the size of the tree and the size of the credit that you get.
Which number are you talking to?
Talking about the 150.
Okay.
That's a drop in the bucket. We're talking, if we have to capture all the storm water on a 10,000 square foot lot, we're talking capturing 5,500 square feet of stormwater, correct? 150 feet, that's nothing. I need the whole canopy of the tree, which is actually the critical root zone, is the drip line of the tree, not 10 feet. So we need to capture that whole area that needs to be left undisturbed, and we can actually preserve some trees in this town. So we're on the right track here. We're also working with the Kirkwood Urban Forestry Council on this, but we need, in the study, I read the study. It's a study from a bunch of Chinese university students, pretty much telling us what we already know. Trees are good for stormwater. They're way better than putting in a storm pit or a rain garden. So they help the water infiltrate, they suck the water up. There's still good dirt there. So let's talk about, I'm talking tenfold, but we make canopy numbers for each one of these trees. So an 8-inch tree has 150, a 38-inch tree has 2,000. These are some real numbers, and that's the space that I need to preserve trees. So if you have any questions, more than happy, I'm here to preserve trees for the city of Kirkwood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Sydney Rash, you're Rash, yeah.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Givens. I think you all received my letter before this, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more about it. So my name is Sydney Rash. I live at 972 Simmons Avenue in Kirkwood. I have been a Kirkwood resident for 26 years, my whole life, and hopefully plan to go nowhere. Along with that, I'm also a realtor and I work for a custom home builder, Benchmark Custom Homes. So I wanted to talk about mainly number 3 on the list and my concern as a homeowner, a builder, and a realtor. It took a lot for my fiance and I who lived there to save money and buy the house that we did. It was a hoarder's home and it was built in the 1950s and we renovated it and made it a very little loving home that I love very much. With that though, there is, for example, a home across the street from us that my father grew up on with 7 other kids on Simmons. It is a slab home, and if you were to pass this ordinance, you would not be able to put a home there with a basement. There are a few reasons why: A, that is a slab home, and B, because of your groundwater map. So I think there's a few things there. I don't think that the implications are being understood of this ordinance fully, and I don't think that your citizens understand what is trying to be passed. So again, I just want to bring to your attention number 3. If 65% of Kirkwood, because that is the red zone, and I wish you guys had a map up here, but it is the red parts of Kirkwood on your groundwater map. If over 65% of Kirkwood has high groundwater, you cannot put in a basement. You could do a short basement if the basement before that, oh, thank you. If the basement before that had a basement, but most basements that are older are 6'5" at most. And then if you add ductwork, you're about 5 feet. And most people are over 5 feet. That is all I have for this evening, but more than anything, I just urge you to please make sure your citizens understand, your residents understand what you are trying to pass in full depth.
Thank you, Sydney.
You're welcome.
No, we're not gonna do any clapping, please. No clapping.
Mark Rash.
Sorry, it's my daughter, you know, I'm sorry.
Okay. Just don't want to get into sides here.
So hey, the only thing I really, can I have that portable mic? Am I allowed to do that? Because I want to expand more on.
Tell us who you are.
Sure, Mark Rash, Benchmark Custom Homes, graduated from Kirkwood, grew up in Kirkwood. Always have anywhere from 6 or 7 properties in Kirkwood at all times. Yes, we build homes and we are very familiar with some of the changes that you did modify. I think since maybe we got together, specifically, the one big one, which I think is putting stormwater underneath driveways, that's now allowed. Thank you.
But
Well,
only
it hasn't
a
been
certain kind of.
It hasn't been passed.
Well, it has not passed,
Yeah, so it's just proposed, so it's in our list of proposed changes.
just like
All
all
of these are proposed.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
none
I
of
get
this is
it.
approved yet.
Kind of adjusted your proposed changes.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That is helpful. But I do want to expand on the map that I brought, which is actually out of your HR Green report.
Right.
So the map over here, if I understand, this is a heat map of complaints, right?
Mhm.
So everywhere here in the green, I'm sorry, the red, that is a water table of 3 feet.
Mhm.
Can't build any basements in there. No basements in there. The green is, I think it's 5 feet, it's 5 to 7. Can't really build any basements there either. You guys, who's gonna buy a new home that doesn't have a full basement? I would bet every single one of you guys have a full basement. When I say full, I mean even 8 feet. We can't do that with this. Certainly, there is stormwater problems. We want to help resolve them. But I don't think taking away basements is the right thing to do.
So let me ask you, Mark. We have a lot of sump pumps blowing over sidewalks and streets, running all the time, and you can tell because of the algae. And then they freeze in the winter. So how would you address that problem?
That for sure is a problem. Don't deny that. I think there are some other ways, and I think we can keep exploring that. Would I rather see some pump water discharging out of my curb on a regular basis, but still have a basement? You bet I would. I agree, it's not pretty. It does freeze in the wintertime. A few days.
That's a
high
hazard.
It is, I totally get it, and I think we can also circumvent the hazard part. We're probably gonna see water still coming down the street, but to say no basements? Come on, you guys, there's no reason with that, that's crazy. Nobody is ever gonna buy that, so what that does to the value of, for instance, my mother-in-law, who's on a 50 by 150 lot, she's got her nest egg into that lot. She thinks that lot's gonna bring 300,000. No, not anymore. People's retirements are at risk. And I think it's important that all the rest of the population in these existing homes know what's going on. Please, please consider this. Especially number 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Celeste Kosowski?
Kozlowski.
Kosowski.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm Celeste Kozowski. I live in 456 South Lane.
Celeste.
Yes.
There you go, got it.
I did look into all of the materials online, but I was not able to find the appendices that were listed. So all I really have a question is, where are they? But so that I can read them.
Of the stormwater report?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, so they are underneath the engineering page. So the QR code that's in the presentation is
We'll
only
get
the
to that.
summary.
good.
But if you go on the engineering page, all the appendices are listed there.
They just weren't in the place where the rest of the report was.
That's correct.
Sorry.
You
Oh,
okay?
no.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's my
Celeste.
question.
all right.
Patrick Jones?
Hello, Council, Mayor. My name is Patrick Jones. I, like Mark, graduated from Kirkwood High School in 1983. Bought my first house in Kirkwood in 1988 to renovate. I've since purchased and renovated and bought and sold over 80 properties at Kirkwood. Now I'm a builder, renovator, and remodeler. My biggest concern, as Mark just said, number 3, as I've heard many builders already say in the city of Kirkwood, if this passes, it's over. Building as we know it, the renewal of the housing stock in our city is over. There's no builder who's gonna build a $1.2 million house with a 5-foot basement. They're not gonna risk it. But that may not be the biggest concern. The biggest concern is gonna be the citizens and understanding what is gonna happen to the value of your property. I just met, as I have with so many people over the years, got a phone call. The children were selling mom's house. They needed the money for her to go to assisted living. She lives in Kirkland on a slab. After reviewing the situation, knowing this has a chance to pass within the next 30 days, I told them I could offer them $140,000 for their slab home. It's a beautiful lot. I paid $285,000 for the lot, but I can't do it. So in their eyes, their mom just had $145,000 stolen from her. So what I would say to each person here is when you go home, measure your foundation. If it's less than 8 feet, you're gonna lose a ton of value in your home. If you live in a slab, it's gonna be even greater. The unintended consequences of what's gonna happen to the housing stock, for example, I have 2 within 4 blocks. Both of the foundations were so bad, they were unrepairable. Now, what's happened in the past is a real estate agent would meet with that seller and say, you should probably call one of the local builders. And that's how that was resolved. And if it was a $300,000 house or it was a 250, they might get $350,000 for their lot. Rehabbers didn't want it. These needed $80,000 just in the one. So what's gonna happen to those houses? The renovators, foundations aren't sexy. Everybody just expects it's gonna be, right? They want the granite countertops, they want the tile bathrooms, that's what they're looking for. So what's gonna happen when the rehabbers can't afford it and the builder's not gonna tear it down? What happens to those families and what happens to the building stock in our city? That's the biggest concern, is the unintended consequences. We want to work with the city, with the water. But as Roger, the first gentleman, just said, that had nothing to do with building. Had nothing to do with building. So I just walked behind two of those houses I just mentioned, and I took pictures of the yards that back to mine 3 days after rain. And they both had 3 inches of standing water, and nobody's even cut down as much as a tree. So trying to punish, and that's not what you're intending to do, but the unintended consequences are you're gonna punish small business owners in the city. And for many of us who own millions of dollars of property that we're taking a risk on. Okay, taking a risk, hoping that it's gonna happen, because you don't always make money in this business. And many of us could be stuck holding the bag. I've even asked if there was an appetite that maybe you could be grandfathered in for up to 1 year if you purchased a property with the intent of tearing that property down. Because I don't think anybody's intentions are to hurt the business owners. And we do want to help with the water situation. But number 3, if you take away that basement depth, it will kill the industry in Kirkwood. And right now, nobody's saying, let's buy a house within walking distance to downtown Liverpool. Or in walking distance to downtown Town and Country. Or to Pear, or Webster, or Afton. Kirkwood has something very special and very unique, and there's a reason why we have that. And we want to maintain that at the same time, try to come up with a real solution with the infrastructure in Kirkwood that is causing these things. Out here on Clay, right across from the school, right by Adams, it floods and it overtakes the sewer system every time it rains. There's no new construction anywhere around there. There's not even housing. So I just ask that we look at this hard and say, okay, back away just a minute. Some of these things, yeah, we can do this. Some of the tree things like that gentleman say, yeah, we might need to tweak that. But number 3 is a no-brainer. People are gonna lose the values of their homes and their retirement. Thank you very much for my time.
Question, okay. With regards to, the Andy, when he came over to ask about the trees, right? There's trade-offs, right? And the trees, if we were able to maintain these trees on houses where demos were happening, the large old trees, do you feel like that would be a trade-off that you would be willing to make as a builder?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
When maintaining the big trees?
Yes.
On properties that are being
Yes.
demoed,
Yes.
could we make that trade-off?
Yes, and I'm not an artist, but I will tell you, some of the stuff, the way it's written now. And the cost of the fines of removing trees, and the cost of just having them removed. Again, another unintended question is, result is that more builders will start moving those garages back up to the front of the house because they don't want the cost of removing the trees and keeping the trees. And that's something Kirkwood was trying to get away with, was having all these front entry garages right at the front of the house. So, yeah.
So as we prioritize things, trees are, keeping our old tree canopy is a big deal.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's one of the things we heard from Andy is if we could keep the bigger, older trees, that's actually the best mitigation we could have.
And
Would you see that as a trade-off?
I think I was, it's as far as the depth of the basement.
Like, if, with regards to having stricter rules about keeping down old, large trees on properties that were having demo.
I would agree, but I would also kind of see that with detail.
But like, when we're talking about trade-offs, that's
Yes.
what.
And that's what we want to do. We want to make a trade-off. We want it to be good for everybody, but this isn't good for anybody. The basements are not good for the citizens of Kirkwood, and it's not good for the builders. It's not good for the homeowners who want to build an addition and they can't go below 6 feet.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good.
Can I just clarify, Sheila,
We got another question.
do you mean, when you say trade-off, you're saying the tree changes in lieu of some of the other changes? Got it.
That was what I was
Yeah.
wondering. I heard Andy's question about the keeping the larger trees and that was a great mitigation. That was what I was trying to comprehend.
Patrick, do you have any additional ideas for, going down into the water table?
I don't know that it's a trade-off, but I do know that we've got bigger infrastructure issues. And I know this is what we're talking about today. But I do know that we're gonna have to do something greater with stormwater outside of the residential areas or anything that's caused by basements or swimming pools or sidewalks. Those are the things that we need to deal with. Where is the water going out here when it's not affected by anything else? Where's Roger's problem, right? I know what he's talking about down by Bodley. There's not a bunch of new construction there.
Right.
It's just an issue of the infrastructure. And so I don't have all the answers, but I know that some of these aren't the answer.
I mean, we can't deal with the MSD infrastructure. That's not our purview. So what we're trying to do is deal with what we can, and that would be sump pumps going onto our streets and sidewalks and freezing in the winter and everything else.
And I can tell you, I'm not saying this happens all the time. I'm not going to say it. We had the same situation. Somebody was building a house next door to a house I was renovating. The people behind there, after a storm, we got a letter from their attorney saying we are causing their basements to flood. They were renovating now, so we haven't done anything outside. Yes, this is being built over here. Well, after I got the letter, it didn't take very long, pulled up a Facebook page and found out 3 years earlier, she had put out on Facebook asking friends requests for water remediation companies because every time it rains, her basement floods. So sometimes it's an outlet for a problem when a new construction starts to get built next door and go, I got a leaky basement and that's causing, not all the time, but
No,
I've seen it many times. That's why I went over and took pictures of this latest project to make sure everybody knows there's standing water back there. We didn't cause it. So, Mayor, I wish I could tell you that I would have all the answers
come on.
for our
Patrick.
stormwater problem, but I just know this. Number 3 is not the answer. At least not as far as the citizens are concerned.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then Foil.
Hello, everyone. I'm a lifelong Kirkwoodian and live here in downtown Kirkwood. And I've been a realtor for 41 years. You can go pull a Webster Kirkwood Times edition out from the 80s, and there's my ad. I'll buy your house and we'll fix it up and sell it. And so on my website, there's 1,000 homes listed in alphabetical order of the houses that I sold in Kirkwood. And I can tell you that 90% of the time when I'm meeting with someone, they'll say, we have a really bad stormwater situation here, our basement leaks. And we'll walk around the house and I'll say, well, let's see. Your gutters aren't large enough, your downspouts aren't large enough. Your sump pump is pumping 3 feet from your house and you're just recirculating the same water. Your patio is cracked, tilting inward to your house. Your driveway is cracked, tilting inward to your house. The grading around your house is eroded and you're draining towards your home. These are your water problems. Your water problems are not because it rained too much. Oh, well, we have these cracks fixed. Okay, well, you're just gonna re-crack because you didn't solve the outside problem. So that's my observation about the vocal minority, my opinion, who raises Cain and says, City Hall, building commissioner, I want to make a complaint about the new house. And this is my problem. And I think the vocal minority makes a lot of noise and the grease, always goes to the squeaky wheel. And I feel like maybe we're overreacting here. The other issue is a financial one. I'm in contact with hundreds of people who made an investment thinking that they're paying too much for a property, but when they go to sell, they'll be able to get too much. So, because the builder demand for wonderful city of Kirkwood, and in the way that it's like Mayberry, everyone wants to live here, they just do. And so they made $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 investments on a little house. And I'm talking Cleveland and Simmons and Avery and Woodgate and all these little houses. It's so huge right now, what the value of small lots. That if you were to randomly select 500 little houses in Kirkwood, this county assessor has a new trick. And they got tired of everyone complaining about their assessment. So now almost every house is valued at 0. And the lot is worth 400. So that way, no one comes anymore and says, I want to fight my my new assessment. Because what the county does is they pull out, they're like, well, this builder just paid this much for this lot, and this builder just paid this much for this lot. My own brother-in-law on Signal Hills, he went to the county and said, my house isn't worth 400,000. And they go, you're right, your house is worth 0. Your lot is worth 400,000. And he said, well, the house next door just sold for 250 just last week. And a builder didn't buy it. It was a homeowner, architect to rebuild it. Well, your lot's worth 400, we're not doing anything about it. So all these people in Kirkwood think their lot's worth $300,000 or $400,000. What's gonna happen if they just get sidewinded? You know, they don't understand with all this engineering talk about BMPs and storm. Just put it out for in layman's terms. Hey, folks, you thought your lot was gonna be worth this for $1 million house, and it's not anymore. And I think that the council owes it to the citizens to understand the financial implications of a builder doesn't want to buy your property anymore. And then that's really gonna mess up the assessments. And I guess that'll take a couple of years to work out. And then the values are gonna come back down. That's not what we do in this business. We're trying to make values go up. So, and I do feel like we're picking on homeowners. I was just at the stoplight at Adams and Clay. And this new building is within inches of the property line of the sidewalk. The new apartments I saw that are proposed for the city public works area, it looks like nobody's worried there about groundwater, but it just seems like we're picking on the homeowners, and I think we need to get it out there to them so that everyone understands what's going on and not just read about it after the fact and go, oh, I guess I should have come to the public hearing in Kirkwood on Tuesday night at 4:30. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Sam.
Mike Mann.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Mon. I reside at 612 Clements Court here in Kirkwood. I'm the owner of Mon Custom Homes and Renovations. For more than 20 years, my team and I have had the privilege of helping families renovate their homes, build additions, restore historic properties, and construct new homes throughout Kirkwood. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I want to begin by making one thing very clear. I support reasonable stormwater management. I support protecting our environment. And I support regulations that are thoughtful, practical, and effective. What I cannot support is adopting a regulation of this magnitude without first understanding their full impact on the people who live here. Kirkwood already has a stormwater ordinance. The question before us today is not whether we should regulate stormwater, we already do. The question is whether these proposed revisions are the right solution and whether we have fully considered their consequences. From my perspective, these revisions represent one of the most significant changes to the residential development in Kirkwood that I've seen in my career. This ordinance is not simply about water. It will influence whether homeowners can build an addition, whether they construct a new home, whether they can install swimming pools, whether they can build their basements as planned, whether they can afford improvements to their property at all. Those are significant decisions and they deserve careful consideration. This is a cumulative effect of everything this city is doing. Recently, the city adopted a new tree ordinance. We have an architectural review board for requirements, and now we're considering the significant revision to the stormwater ordinance. But none of these appear to be asking the most important question. What happens when every one of those decisions applies to the same homeowners on the same lot at the same time? That is only our residents will face. One ordinance affects trees, another ordinance affects stormwater, and another ordinance affects design. Each may seem reasonable on its own. Together, they maybe fundamentally change what we think is possible, what is affordable, and what makes economic sense. The cumulative impact has not been adequately discussed. There's another concern throughout this process. Many practical alternatives have been suggested by builders, engineers, architects, and homeowners. Some have been incorporated, and I appreciate that, specifically underneath the driveways. But my concern remains that the process has often focused on regulating individual lots without approach that the city needs to go directly at and practically understand in cost-effective ways. Infrastructure. I understand you said that we can't do anything with infrastructure. She says we've got grants for infrastructure. So we can, as a municipality, address the infrastructure. Jennifer, at one point in time, in a previous city council meeting, said that all these oppositions and all this stuff that we're about ready to lay out may have little effect to this community. Again, we're talking about infrastructure. We've got a guy that's got a kayak going on. We have videos that are flooding houses because the water is 3 to 5 feet deep. This is about infrastructure. Instead of placing additional costs and additional responsibilities on the individual homeowners, if the city's long-term stormwater challenges are largely infrastructure related, then infrastructure must be a part of the solution. We cannot regulate our way out of this infrastructure problem. There's also an economic consequence that deserves a serious consideration. Redevelopment potentially is one of the most factors that influence residential property and the values in Kirkwood. I can tell you based on real experience that my company is already becoming more cautious about purchasing redevelopment opportunities because of the uncertainty surrounding this area. When uncertainty increases, when cost increases, and when flexibility decreases, the value that can be placed on the property changes. That does not simply affect us as builders, it affects the homeowners whose home represents their largest investment that they've ever made. Has the city truly evaluated these impacts? What are our priorities? Our community has recently faced significant discussions regarding public finances, infrastructure, and public trust. At the same time, we are considering additional regulations that will affect nearly every homeowner in Kirkwood for decades to come. They deserve a coordinated analysis. They deserve transparency. They deserve meaningful public participation. I love this community. I built my business here. I've raised my family here. I want future generations to enjoy the same opportunities that many of us have already had. I respectfully ask everyone to pause before adopting changes of this magnitude.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you. Or Mike?
And I just want to repeat, if anybody has a comment card that they would like to turn in, if you want to make comments and you have not turned one in, please do so. And also there are sign-in sheets, reminder sign-in sheets going around on clipboard, so if you see one, if you please sign in, thank you. All right, next person, Dan Murphy.
Hello there. I'm a homeowner, the homeowner of a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house at 525 North Kirkwood. And I'm on a 15,000 square foot lot. So I have a small house, so I would like to add on to my house in the future. Or tear it down and build a new one. The number 3 issue is a big concern, because I'm also a realtor, and I know that if I build it with a slab, even an addition, it's not gonna, I want the living area underneath it so I can finish off the basement, so on and so forth, so. That is the biggest concern for me. And I do have a new home next door to me. And I don't have any water issue. Because of the same as that other ones. Because I know they have rules, they gotta put in pits and pumps. So I don't have any issues with the house next door. But number 3 is a huge issue for me.
Any questions?
And I do agree with Roger. I was just curious on how many people that have the stormwater complaints had issues before a new home was built next to them or around. That's one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Gwen Wallman.
Hi, Gwen Wallman, 192 West Adams. In answer to his question, I live in a house that, did not have runoff problems before construction uphill from me. And, this was back years ago. The construction, the home that was built, created multiple creeks. That flooded down on my house and the house next to me. My neighbor was knee deep in her laundry room. Flooded water. And I recall some years back when Kirkwood residents were so upset with a former stormwater ordinance that was causing their homes to be flooded. And they actually went to the local TV news, and there were several spots on the TV news about stormwater runoff flooding in Kirkwood from new development. And I knew one of the women who, whose grandmother lost her house basically on West Adams, across from Kirkwood Park. Anyway, so, and I actually have issues both from the house built behind me and the creek that runs through my property too. So I'm very sensitive to stormwater runoff issues. And I just want to say I have no problems with the proposed ordinance, stormwater ordinance as it is. My biggest concern is that it might be watered down, no pun intended. I hope homeowners understand if new construction meets code, they have no legal recourse for damages that the construction may cause. It all becomes their problem, and that is grossly unjust. And I just hope that you all keep that in mind as you prepare to vote on this proposed ordinance. I attended a meeting, I guess it was, during the city council last October, regarding the stormwater master plan, at which builders requested that new runoff codes not be applied to individual properties themselves, rather that builders could donate to a fund for new or improved stormwater infrastructure downstream. The problems with this should be obvious. Runoff protection from new builds must be addressed on site to protect the immediate neighbors. I've also read some opinions from supporters of increased urban density and ADUs that seek to raise or exempt the impervious surfacing lot coverage ratio in which compliance with the stormwater regulations would be required. This idea is unjustified, since impervious surfacing lot coverage would have the same runoff effects whether an existing home with a new ADU or a huge new tear-down infill home. Either way, there is no excuse for flood thy neighbor. Other food for thought, Kirkwood should also reconsider our narrow side yard setbacks. That are, I think ours are 5 feet minimum, whereas our neighbors are all 8 to 10 feet. Depere, Webster, Sunset Hills are all 8 to 10 feet. And this would, this amount of additional impervious surfacing would, of course, impact runoff. And oh, okay, I covered that. And also we need to effectively preserve and protect green space and trees that do double duty, making our city a beautiful place to live while soaking up and holding stormwater. Also, finally, we don't need any more McMansions. We have enough. What we should do is save the affordable housing stock we've got and stop allowing over construction and stormwater runoff problems in Kirkwood. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Any questions, anybody?
All right, Cindy Rozier.
Hi, I'm Cindy Brewster. I live at 654 Evans Avenue, and I wanted to address your some issue when you brought it up tomorrow. We live in a 50 by 150 lot, so we live in the lot that everybody talks about. We had way too much concrete. There will not be, thank God we're grandfathered in, but we don't have runoff. We do have a sub pump that runs all the time. And we had pop-ups throughout our gardens. We never have ice, and we're very close to our sidewalk. We don't have ice on our sidewalk. We don't have ice in our yard. It is dispersed every so often so that it goes away naturally in our garden beds. So there are ways around this to make it work. You know, you just have to be creative. We got a landscape engineer to help us figure out how we could have that come. We only have a partial basement. It's only 15 by 15, and we only have a 6-foot ceiling. And we're 5 steps off the ground already. I would love to lift our house someday and build a basement so that we could save it, because I love my house, but I don't know that it would be impossible if you pass this ordinance. And we do have a remodeling company here, but I talk as a homeowner. This is my home. I've lived here 60 years. So I think there are solutions. I think there are solutions for all of this, but I just think you're rushing. I think we just need to take a pause and we can figure this out.
Thank you, Cindy. Any questions, Cindy? Good.
Okay. Sandy Behrens.
Hi, guys. You all know me. I want to say that, first of all, you've done a lot of work on this. We've been talking about this for 2 years. Who are we kidding? This isn't something I would call rushed. There's been a lot of reiteration and a lot of discussion. I've been part of it. I've even made suggestions I've discussed. So I'll take responsibility for those, myself. I'm a resident and a builder. I've lived on Bogey Lane since 1996. I've been in the business for 40 years and a builder since 1999. When this resolution was proposed 2 years ago, I met with you guys at KPAC. And I sat down and we had a nice discussion, and I didn't have excuses, but I did have ideas as a builder, because I know what it takes. I met Liz when she was running for office. And the reason we met was because my neighbor Matt suggested to her that she talk to me regarding water runoff. So we hiked around the neighborhood together, as a couple of walkers, and I showed her Greenleaf and Fairway and Par and that whole area, which is the problem. It's on a perched water table, so I know what I'm talking about because I live there. I also build there. And I'd like to now address you guys. So, I'm gonna turn around if you want. Sure. Okay. I wrote this down so I could be brief. I consider myself a steward of viable construction. I say viable because I wonder if everything I do is sustainable. Sustainability is not exactly a taillight warranty, it's a promise. Can my client live there and be happy? Or are they gonna be miserable 3 months after I leave? And yeah, what about the neighbors? I take this into consideration because I don't want to blame my client for wanting something when it wasn't a good idea in the first place. I do think it's my responsibility to have that conversation with my client. What design will benefit the long-term sustainability of the home? Is a giant basement in my client's best interest? If I don't think so, I say so. I explained the soil issues, the runoff issues, the cost of maintaining the BMP and the MSD requirements, and let's get something perfectly clear. Some of the things you see listed in their proposal, those are directly from MSD. They weren't written by them. It's what MSD is requiring, because all of our stormwater goes into a system and eventually pumps out through Sugar Creek and the Merrimack into the Mississippi River. We're only allowed to put so much in there because it's connected to everything else. And our water that we put in there isn't treated. In case you don't know that. So there's a limit to what we're allowed to do, and there are also requirements that MSD is requiring us to do. It's not like they get to decide everything, and they're not. But we do have to go along with it because we as builders design homes, but they're nothing without infrastructure. And when we connect to the infrastructure, we are making a deal with what you guys call the devil, but it's not. It's what reality is. So we have to play by their rules. If there was something else available, we'd know about it. We'd be doing it. It would be in there. So when we look at a plan that's got red lines all over, so you can do this in this area. Well, yeah. When I'm working in my area, I have designed and just designed an almost $2 million home. I retained the original basement, which is about 7 feet. And then I put in a giant crawl space. And the conversation I had with my client at the time, when they wanted more basement, I said, no. They have 3 infill houses behind them and a lake in the middle of their backyard. I was required to disperse that water somehow and keep it on the lot. So I took out my magic wand and I designed a system, and lo and behold, there is no lake there. I did get creative. I did solve the problem, and I put in over, I don't know, it's 2,000 square feet of crawl space. Because I told them if I put in a basement, that lake will be in there too, so if they want a swimming pool, I could do that. And I could have the entrance inside the basement of their own home. Which is unrealistic. So sometimes some of these rules do work for a reason. I would never tell my client, and I've done it 3 times, I did it in my own home. I did 2 additions, they both have crawl spaces. I did it, one behind me on Fairway, same thing, I did crawl spaces. They all wanted a basement. But that's not sustainable. And yeah, they could pay me. But what does that get me? We have to be stewards here, builders. We have to be stewards between what they need us to do and what is reality for our clients. And I don't know if there's a compromise on slab homes, maybe there isn't. Maybe there is, I don't know. Maybe they can have something very small. I don't know. That could be proposed perhaps, I don't know. But in the long run, our job is to protect the people that we serve, just like this council is supposed to do. It's our responsibility and we know better. Better than most of our clients. Thank you.
Any questions? Sadie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I don't know what a perched water table is. I'm familiar with Fairway and
Yes.
Bogey and Longview.
It's why the water table is higher because the.
Talk into the mic.
Well, you wanna go ahead? It's where, you know, when you hit a basin of rock, it's the soil above it, it goes up higher like this. And you end up with a water table that's higher than the area around it that's. Goes
So that
downhill
whole
from there, that whole area is,
That whole area would be considered a perched water table.
yes, ma'am,
Do those homes have basements?
yes, they're 7 feet.
Okay, and then how much water challenges do they have right now?
Lots, because there are too many, there are a lot of infills on Bogey Lane that have caused a number of issues. I have videos of the amount of water that is down at the bottom of Bogey Lane when it rains at one point.
Bogey and Woodlawn, Bogey and.
I think it's Bogey and Club, because the club is at the end of Bogey,
Okay,
that flooded. Yeah, that floods on a regular basis. Yeah, and then Par and Fairway and Par, they all have water problems. It's a very wet area. So I don't recommend basements to anybody, extended basements in those areas, because in most cases, all the infill houses have 8-foot basements, and that's forced. It's like you step into a tub of water yourself and the water goes up. Same thing happens when you put a big basement in there. The water it goes up and it pushes groundwater, something you don't see, around and further down and away from your house and into the next home, and creates pressure underneath the foundations, underneath the floors of the basements that people have. It's, you know,
No stormwater inlets.
there aren't any, there are none. And MSD MSD is not gonna come and save us. Their MSD has said the infrastructure problem in Kirkwood is the amount of building that we've done. There were calculations done a long time ago regarding what was already there and even what could be there. I don't think they ever imagined that we would build what we have done in the past 10 years. None of the infrastructure now matches what we've done with construction, and it's all about what we wanted. So we've done it. But to have MSD come in here, MSD is not gonna come in here and save us. They're gonna look at us and say, okay, you taxpayers, pony up. So what's gonna happen? Okay, wait, so let's tax the infill houses harder than the people that haven't done anything. Wait a minute, when I bought my infill home, I didn't know. So how is that fair? It isn't, none of it's fair, but MSD isn't gonna spend billions of dollars and come up, could you imagine what they would have to do if they came in here to make our system larger? You think it's bad when they do road construction? You ain't seen nothing. I mean, it would be the most awful mess we've ever seen, so it's not gonna happen. So what we have to do, what they've given us are regulations that we have to follow. We don't have a choice. Because the systems we connect to get the water to the Merrimack and to Sugar Creek, those systems are all sized too. And you've seen all the stuff that they've done through Brentwood and going in, they did that big, huge park where they're dumping all that water into that area. There are regulations for how much water can get to any place. So one of the reasons that they're not picking on homeowners, one of the things that MSD has suggested is that we as homeowners have to figure out how to keep as much water as we can on our own properties. So when Chris and I got together, I said, you know, builders are all complaining about the flow wells, they don't work. Okay. Did you aerate them? What's aerating? I'm like, well, you know, you take a drill bit and you go after it, and you put it in. It's not hogwash. It's about soil. It's about plastic soil. It's also about dispersion systems. If you don't like the flow well, then put pipes in the top, drain them out into dry creek beds, put a pump at the end of a rain garden, put them over to a cistern and turn it on and water the grass. There you go. And it can be done, because guess what? I had the system designed. Because I have the problems that I have to deal with. So I have to come up with something. So it's not hogwash. I can make a flow well work. I take the time to figure it out. And that's what our job is. And if we as builders get together and we've got problems, then we should be talking to each other and saying, hey, what can I do on this? Anybody got an idea? I mean, so what? We have to solve this problem. We don't have a choice. And we've been talking about this now for 2 years. Come on. We can do this.
Sandy, we got a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually, my question is for Chris and or Jennifer. So Jennifer, you mentioned that MSP gives us money to help upgrade our infrastructure.
Well, so part of the Prop S, thing that passed a couple years ago, I can't remember exactly when it was. That allocates some additional funds for us to use to address the infrastructure.
In reality,
Yeah,
how much money is that? And how far does that go in helping Kirkwood mitigate water? If we went to Bogey and Fairway and Club, and do we really get enough money to make a difference in the infrastructure for MSD?
No.
No.
So it's not
I thought
enough
that
money.
might be the answer, but I wanted to get that out there on
Yes,
the
it's
table.
not enough money to fully address infrastructure needs throughout Kirkwood. It's gonna
Does it-
address smaller issues, isolated issues that we've got outlined in our master plan.
Would it help poor Roger not have to worry about his kayak anymore?
Potentially, yeah,
maybe.
but citywide, no.
Depends, the list is pretty long and there's some major issues in certain areas that are maybe a bigger priority, but everything's on the list.
And how much does it end up being, Chris, on an annual basis? Is it 700,000
I can't speak to that
Okay.
amount, but around that area, around that ballpark.
or something like that? So, I mean, that doesn't go very far.
Thank you.
Not when you're talking about $1 billion now. This isn't even getting close.
Quick question too on that, and again, MSD has identified some projects in Kirkwood over the next maybe 10 years, and we just heard a Zoom meeting on the one from De Pere to Kirkwood, the Adams project.
Right.
And that's a $33 million MSD project that's gonna happen over 3 to 4 years, so you know, it's extensive, it's costly, these are gonna be few and far between. I think there's one that they slated on Manchester, Burl Avenue and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are years away.
So that one down on Adams, that's strictly for sewer.
Sewers.
sanitary,
Oh, that's
not
right.
storm.
That's a sewer now.
But it'd be nice if they did a little mitigation while they're down.
Yeah, so the
Well,
money
they're digging it up.
is, you're
Yeah,
right, and
we'll
you
leave
know,
it there.
the money is tight for all kinds of things, and unfortunately, it's gonna be tight for the city to ever be the one to jump in and fix everything.
Sheila, you have a question?
To the Adams project, one of the things they did say is the impact not from stormwater, from the wastewater that's leaking, the wastewater is leaking into the stormwater issues and causing
That's
problems
correct.
with that.
It's
So
overflowing.
it's overflowing, so just note that even wastewater issues that we have infrastructure wise.
And it's the next pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't gonna be started till 29.
28.
Mhm.
And it's, yeah.
And it's a 3-year project.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
all right. Thank you, Sandy.
Aaron Cole.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, Aaron Cole. Long time listener, first time. So. Bought our house in Kirkwood, 2015. We're raising, we have just on the house, 3 kids. In the last 2 years, our house has flooded 4 times. We've had, stormwater mitigation from, I could probably give you a handful of companies that are very well at stormwater issues. When we did an addition and broke ground in August of 20, the best time to ever do an addition for it. We played by all the rules, went through the ARB, went to make sure that we had stormwater management through the BMP, make sure we had enough trees based on the size of our yard. Our house was built in 1952, so it was a little 2-bed, 1-bath, and we've expanded it to 4-bed, 3-bath now. So we've made the investment here in Kirkwood, and I'm not opposed to any changes that'll help us in the long haul. A big part of my coming up here and just even being a part of it was what happens to the people who are caught in the middle. So there was some very interesting suggestions within the presentation in regards to where the sump pumps can be discharged and how they connect to the MSD system. I've got two 70-gallon NDS systems in my backyard. I will say that Barracuda brand of sump pumps is a very good brand, very good brand of sump pumps from Menards. I've had 2 in the last 10 years, so they work very well. But a big part of me coming up here is just kind of figuring out what's like the how, and as opposed to what we want to do, because my sump pump has ran every day for almost the last 10 years. And that's not because no one on my block, I'm at Harrison and Wilson.
I've had very extensive conversations with Chris even before. I mean, full transparency, I did work with the city of Kirkwood. But I felt like I felt like I could not have a impact from where I live by being an employee. So that's kind of just my transparency standpoint. Prior to that, working with Chris and helping with, you know, stormwater issues that we've had and, you know, playing by all the rules and doing all the things. But we've had no new builds on that whole block, brand new builds. And a big part of it is just what's the why, you know, how am I gonna take my son that does discharge, you know, into our ADS system and infiltrates, you know, probably once a day. I mean, if not more, depending on how much rain we get. You know, remember I gotta reroute that to connect to the MSD. And we've done everything as far as I've got French drains, I've got dry wells, I've got all the things. And it's not about what I do for my home, it's about what I'm able to do for the block that I live on, for my neighbor's house, for the people that live down the street. I've got a video of the last rainstorm that we had, and I believe it was bulk pickup day. And I had a king size mattress float down North Harrison. And I will tell you that a king size mattress that's waterlogged is not a fun thing to pull out of the strings to try to at least get the drainage to go. And I'm not saying that it's almost one of those things. I'm not placing blame on anyone who wants to plant roots or, you know, we came to Kirkwood, or at least we came to Kirkwood because of the community. We're still in Kirkwood because of the community. We'll be here at least until my youngest is 18 and then who knows from there. But that's another 15 years from now. And I feel like there's a lot of finger pointing. I feel like a lot of the comments earlier were me, I, and there was very little we. And the we behind it is if I do something that's gonna affect the water that comes by my house, around my house, near my house, or it's coming from my house, the first thing I do is I tell my neighbor, hey, I put a check flow valve in my sewer lateral line just in case. Because the issues that we had were backflow coming up through our sewer to the point where we started finishing our basement and knowing that we might have these issues again. I didn't use 2x4s, I used steel studs in the basement. So if I had to shut a drywall out, I'm just down to steel studs and I can just treat that and it's less of a cost. Now, mind you, knock on wood, we haven't had any inflow issues since 2023. But for me to know to the day and the time and the year of when the last time I had poop water come up out of my basement, a big part of it is just the why. Like I said, we've done all the things. We're playing by all the rules. We've had all the studies. We've done sat through all the things. Like we're here. We're, you know, whatever the ordinances, whatever the changes are. But I think that a big part of it is the why and the how. Like how are who from the MSD is going to say this is how you're going to connect to a system or something? And it might not be figured out. I think it's just a proposal. I think it's just, you know, just where it's going. I'm not for or against any of the changes. I mean, like I said, play by the rules. Raise your hand if you got a question. And not literally. Figuratively in regards to, you know, being a resident of Kirkwood. Do I snub my nose at the bigger houses? Absolutely not. Like they make those choices. They play by the rules. You know, the drainage issues that we've had, we know that they exist. And I think that the collaborative effort to have at least the transparency to know that what's being done is for the greater good and not just to seemingly or, you know, vehemently, you know, say, oh, it's against builders or if it's against residents or if it's against MSD or whatever the case is. Like at the end of the day, we'll still be here. And we still have to figure out how we're going to go on from there. So that's all I got. Any questions? No?
I do have one. Aaron mentioned a couple of times connecting into MSD. Chris or Jennifer, can you clarify? I didn't think that you could connect anything into the MSD sewer directly.
You can with their approval. So it's a case by case basis.
But nothing in
And-
this, I thought was dictating that, am I?
And so this would require, if you have a structure close within, on the same same side of the street. And you're making a change to your home, so this would not, if you're not making any changes to your stormwater BMPs, this would not require you to directly connect once this is passed.
Right, but if I made a change, put a new structure, let's say I decide to build an ADU. If I'm close to a discharge, like I'm at the bottom, I can go in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we've had
But
many
it's
instances.
only when that is happening. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to get clarity on that, because you mentioned that a couple of times and I wasn't clear. So thank you very
You
much.
have to go and get a permit.
Right.
The drain layer has to go get a permit from MSD to allow it.
Aaron, it sounds like you've been a good neighbor and that's what this is all about, so thank you.
So it wasn't serving on the magic down the street, I'll say that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I will mispronounce his last name, I know I'm having a hard time reading it, Chris Hanowinkle. Hanowinkle.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Chris Hanowinkle. I live at 116 South Harrison. And this for me, I just want to make a few comments about the history. We've been there for, this November will be 50 years in that same house. And our lot is 50 feet wide and it's 250 feet deep. There's 4 properties on Argonne that back into our side yard. And what's happened over the years is all 4 of those houses had gravel driveways when we moved there. Add mine, that's 5. All 4 of those houses have expanded greatly. The one on the corner is a big gray Victoria, and it's probably 3 times the runoff that it was originally. Our house has doubled. The house next door to that one is more than double because of the large garage. Where the garage is placed impacts us, but all that water from 3 of the houses discharges into our backyard, plus what we've added. And it's a river. We've put in Dry Creek and we put in rain gardens to help control it. But thank God the Union Pacific is behind us because that's where all that water goes. It's one of the biggest storm sewers we have. And there's the parking lot back there behind the medical building is really damaged by it. It's you don't want a small child back there when it's raining because it's a lot of water. Trying to think if there was any other. I guess my point is we've got to find a way to deal with this on a case by case basis as you build because people want to live here, and I certainly believe that it's one of the greatest places in the world to live. And we've raised 2 kids here. We just had a great time and we love to walk. And I really would appreciate it if we could find a way to discharge the water into the backyards because we do love to walk. And the street thing is crazy between the slime and the ice. Ours, we have 2 basements because of the way the house was built with a crawl space in between the old basement and where we built. There's 2 pumps. They run continually throughout the year and they discharge in the rain gardens. One rain garden is just for the sump pump. The other rain garden doesn't work terribly well because there's just too much volume from the other properties. But
Chris, I have a question.
a lot has changed.
You mentioned gravel driveways.
Mhm.
Are they no longer gravel driveways?
Oh, no, they're all paved. And they're longer. The house, one of the houses that joins our side yard is a vinyl wall for us. They moved the garage completely to the back of the yard. They retained the house, they made the house twice as large, and they built a garage that didn't exist before. And so those gutters discharge into our yard. I don't care if you turn it, they are turned the proper way, but where's the water gonna go? It's gonna go downhill. Yeah, the permeability it's a big change. Yeah, thank you.
Nikki Lee.
Hi, I'm Nikki Lee. I live at 429 South Harrison Avenue. I am really grateful that we're proposing these changes, we're discussing these changes. My house has been impacted by a new build next door to me. They clear cut the trees, so there were probably about 20 trees on that property, and they cut them all down to build up a very large house and very large garage. Then next to that, our other neighbors, so not next to us, but next to the new build, are building a new pool house and a new pool. They are in the lowest part of the block, so that's kind of where all the water was collecting anyway. Now the water is flowing from where the new house is to where the new pool is, and then into a drain that is at Barrington Square condos. If the water flowed properly, it would probably all work and be fine, but the water does not flow properly. The drain at the condo does not seem sufficient for all of the water that is coming through, and it stinks. We can smell it inside our house, the anaerobic water that is collecting in these pools that are 2 houses down. And I can't even imagine people building the pool, that's where all the smell is when their pool is finally done. I can't imagine they're going to enjoy that, because it's just going to smell all of the time unless they fix this. So I really am grateful, again, like I said, that we're talking about this, because I think it was really needed. The fact that they cut down all of these trees, and in the other yard where they're building the pool, next to the new house, they left 1 tree. And they put the tree protection zone around it for 10 feet, but that's not enough. That tree is going to die. It's already showing decline, all the construction equipment that they've had over that. So now the 1 tree on these 2 properties that is supposed to collect water is not gonna be there either. It'll be a year or 2.
Chris, can we direct Nikki to you to look into this smelly water
Yes, of course.
situation?
Look into that.
Yeah.
What address, or what was your address?
429 South Harrison. Do you want my email or phone number?
Because it's sending.
Sure, Chris, come on back up if you have something else to.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no, I thought you had a question. No.
So is it true that we can't have gravel driveways? They have to be,
That's true.
and why is that?
I agree with you. I think it's something we should look at.
Right now, we need to replace our driveway. We're thinking about converting we don't have a garage. So side yard. Maybe have a side yard instead of all that driveway. We only have 1 car now, but I'd love it if we could just take all the asphalt out and put a.
I'm thinking pea gravel, but Chris,
Our current ordinance is it's a asphalt or concrete, and it's a dust-proof surface.
What? I'm sorry.
Dust-proof surface.
Dust-proof surface.
Yes, that's what's in our code right now.
Just saying.
thank you, Chris.
That means you can do Merrimack pea gravel then? I think that's proof.
Our code specifically says asphalt or concrete.
Maybe the council could look into that.
We do have some upper end, customers and residents that really want a pea gravel, a Merrimack pea gravel, which really looks pretty rich and nice. And I do believe that is the code, and has been for a long time, but
Yeah.
Merrimack is definitely.
Some of the issues, it's long-term, so like maintenance issues of like erosion that could, if you have a big rainstorm, that can be washed out. And so there are other considerations that need to be made for that reason.
Claudia Bissinger.
Evening, my name's Claudia Fitzinger, and I've lived at 900 Evans for 59 years. I've raised my family there, and I have seen Kirkwood change over all the years, good and bad. Tonight, I'm speaking as a longtime homeowner who is very concerned about proposal number 3. My home is more than just where I live. It's something I've worked for over decades, obviously. Like many people in this room, I've always seen it as part of my nest egg, something I could rely on and pass on. What's so frustrating to me is that I don't think most residents even realize what's being proposed and what it could do to their property values with the basement language that is being proposed at this time. Over the years, we've watched our home values increase, excuse me, which reflects the strength of this community. But with changes like this, it feels like that could be taken away very quickly. If basements are restricted and building becomes more difficult, that directly affects our homes, our worth, and what they can become. That's not a small change by any stretch. That's something that impacts people's life savings. And I just keep coming back to this. Most of my neighbors, they have no idea that this is even happening. Where is the transparency that you all are supposed to have to let all of us know what's going on in the city? I didn't know a thing about this. And I know the neighbors around us do not either. If something this significant is going to affect homeowners, people deserve to fully understand it before it moves forward. I love Kirkwood, believe me, I wouldn't have lived here 59 years if I didn't. I just don't want to see decisions made that could hurt homeowners without them even realizing it. So I'd strongly encourage you not to pass this ordinance as it is written. And I have one other thing that I'm so curious about. Okay, so you decide that the basement issues passes and they can't put basements. What if a family, a large family, moves in? How many of you have basements? What do you do without one? That's where all your junk goes. I know that's what mine used for. And also, you have a large family. A lot of times that basement turns into a living space. Bedrooms go down there. My son had his bedroom and a family room down there. He loved it. He could sneak out at night that way and didn't have it. So the thing is, you have to seriously think about what this could do to the future of Kirkwood, in my opinion. If I were gonna move here as a young family, and I couldn't find a home without a nice basement, I would probably go elsewhere. And that's not gonna grow Kirkwood. That isn't gonna do anybody any good. So I do beg you to look at this realistically. I know, obviously water seems to be a problem, but this is also an urgent thing that needs to be looked at before a decision is made, and people need to know about it. So, thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. Thank you, Claudia.
Thomas Kibbe.
Who's the gentleman that just won?
No,
Yes.
walked out.
Did he?
Thomas Kibbe.
I think so.
Okay. Josh Peterman.
Did he leave you anything on his blue card?
He did, we'll wait to see if maybe he comes back up, if you see him walking, or let me know.
Hi, I'm Josh Peterman. I live at 343 West Rose Hill Avenue. I've been a Kirkwood resident for over 20 years now. And raised a family here. We love it here. And I think everyone in this room could probably agree that stormwater is an issue for the city. But I would just like to point out that it's not a new issue. It's been going on since I've lived here. First house that I moved into in 2005, it had water in the basement, it had water in the yard. And I took issue with that, so obviously I fixed a lot of those issues. But there were no new builds on that street, no new builds anywhere around here that caused those issues. No, I do understand that, you know, that was before the current housing boom that we're in has taken place, and, like many people have pointed out, stormwater is an issue for the city, and I think that everyone wants to reach a solution. But these items that have been presented, the ordinance changes, I don't think provide, a well thought out solution, to what the city's faced. So I would just ask that the council, please think long and hard before making a quick change to the stormwater ordinance. And think about some of the consequences that have been mentioned tonight. Think about the property values, specifically item number 3. If you eliminate basements on new builds and even remodels, it's game over. It'd be devastating to the city. And I don't think anybody wants to see that. So I would just ask that strongly consider item 3. There are a few others that I think also pose some concerns, like required grading permits for small sidewalks and things like that. That can really have an impact on a resident. I know a friend of mine wanted to put a sidewalk. It was less than 100 square feet, just out the side of their garage into their backyard. Approached the city. Was told what all they needed to obtain. They had to get a full boundary survey, a full stormwater mitigation plan, grading permit. All told, it was between $15,000 and $20,000 for a sidewalk, and that was just the engineering side and the permitting side. So, you know, long story short, they didn't do the project, and it's unfortunate because, you know, there's a resident that is burdened by some of these changes. So I would just ask that please put a lot of thought in this. It's a major decision that's going to affect a lot of people, and it's going to have a lasting impact on the city as a whole. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ellen, Kathy?
Hello, I am Ellen Kathy, and I live at 1302 Lockett Lane, and I arrived a little bit later, I'm sorry. But I am here tonight to speak about kind of on behalf of our neighborhood. I don't know if this is the correct form or not, but I have been trying to contact the city since we moved in about 2018, but 2021. So I know I've spoken with several people from the city. This all started when we had a new house torn down to be top of our street. Our part of Glen what part of the Glen neighborhood is we do not have sidewalks and we do not have curbs on our little portion of Lockett Lane off of Lockett. So we live at the bottom. We knew that when we bought the house. There's an easement on the side of our house with an open sewer drain that is MSD. We knew that when we bought the house. So I had MSD come out. I had 3 little kids when we moved in. A child could get in. In fact, my neighbor talks about getting in the sewers as a child with his brothers and running, you know. But I was concerned. So they told me I could plant some things so that the kids couldn't get down. So that has worked. But now with the new bill, we're seeing our front porch, we've had to get it jacked back up because things are going down. My neighbor cannot close his fence anymore. So that's one issue. Our other issue is the stormwater that we are seeing and the safety for my neighborhood. I'm a teacher, so I'm very passionate about the kids in my neighborhood. We do not have sidewalks or curbs. And what that leaves us with is stormwater that sits at the end of Lockett Lane. I have pictures from the years we lived there, and 2 weeks ago, a little guy wiped out on his scooter in front of our house. He was not even riding it. People from Lockett, it had rained, the work up at Lockett, people had come twice. We've had what appeared to be water main breaks. So there was workers on our street. The little guy had stopped and he said, "Is it okay if I go?" Well, we have constant mud, algae. It's bad. I go out and power wash. And so he said, "Can I go?" And he did, and he just wiped out. So that's just one instance of the stormwater issues we're having. Another is, we are a major walk and bike path with Kirkwood connecting to Wingate. And I have a child with, disabilities. We have a neighbor, we have another neighbor who's elderly, we had to call because she got out of the house and was wandering. So on one part of Lockett, there is enough water that a small child could drown when it rains. So I think it is, we just have several different issues on our street that I'd really love for someone to come out and look. During winter time, my other neighbor is elderly and has in-home care. They could not get up a little part of a hill because of the ice. So I called the city again about that. So I am just here to kind of, at my last straw, I do not know what to do anymore. I have sent emails, I have them, and phone calls. I really need, I've been told people have come and looked. They don't see anything, our yard doesn't dry. So I know it's my yard at the end, but it's really getting about the safety, seeing that kid fall like that, due to the algae and the mud, and the water that, it's not draining over the years with the new build. Now it's collecting in our yard more and more, so. Chris, I talked to Chris. And Rich, I've talked to several people for a while.
I know what build you're talking about.
Yes, and I actually pulled somebody off the Lockett project and they came down and looked with me at, I kind of said, can you just come look to see what I'm talking about? Because it's really about the safety of for how many people, kids walk, ride to school. My elderly neighbors at this point, we need to have, so a couple years ago, we had to worry about our streets. Our street's the only one that's not been done in our little area of Kirkwood. And so I fought for that. So the street's getting redone, but no curbs are being put in. So we wondered if curbs or just something would help with the way the water would flow down. So, yes.
So Chris can.
So I'm kind of all over the place, but we have a lot of issues going on.
Yeah, sounds
That
like
need to be.
So Chris, can you work
I'd
with
be
Colin
glad.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
And yeah, maybe we can get some curbs.
I don't know. If there's a whole, it's a,
Okay.
Because curbs, then I gotta put out structure or pipes in.
it's a
so-
whole thing we've been battling for a long time. Before we even moved in, they were told they were getting curbs and sidewalks and that didn't happen. We also have standing water that's not kind of like the water we break. We've talked about this over and over in our circle, not draining. Today, there's still water.
Okay, but you guys are connected.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to do with my, on behalf of my neighborhood, but we need to have something done for the safety of all the kids and the elderly who live on our street. So thank you for your
Okay,
time.
Alan, thank you.
Mayor, real quick, Thomas Kibbe, I don't believe has come back. Would you guys like me to read what he wrote in his card?
That'd be great.
Okay, bear with me. He says he's interested in serving on a citizens committee if one were to be formed for stormwater issues. He's a retired physician. He's comfortable with technical reports. He says he manages the MSD regulated storm basin for his HOA with native plants. And I believe it says he's a certified master naturalist. The question he asks is, why are commercial developments exempt from BMPs? So that's what he has on his card here.
Chris, can you address that question?
They are not exempt from BMPs. They are to meet MSD's requirements, and so there are several BMPs that are required for commercial developments in Kirkwood.
But that's all under MSD, not the city of Kirkwood.
Yes.
Could you tell us what they are first? What are the requirements?
So, MSD has requirements if you're above 2 CFS or serving an acre or more, then that puts you in the threshold of, so all these smaller sites don't meet the requirements or don't fall on the threshold for review for, by MSD. And so their requirements, for larger sites, greater than an acre or more than 2 CFS, typically they require you to go back to a greenfield development where basically they compare it to a site that is of green grass. So so they have underground detention. So I heard tonight the development's going in at 144 West Adams, at Adams and Clay, they have underground detention going in on their site. Other developments in Kirkwood that I could point to, off the top of my head, yeah, so as far as, the ARIA has underground detention as well, and so there's systems that are they're large, basically large pits that hold water and then release it at a slow rate.
Did the train station put something?
No, the train station did not put anything under.
But, the city hall here.
Yes, we have a very large, storm tech, actually, it is a storm tech unit that's underneath the parking lot. It was installed in 2023.
So how does that water disperse? It just disperse slowly naturally, or is it pumped?
So it goes into the inlets on the parking lot, and then we have wells underneath, and they're long chambers underneath that parking lot that are about 5 feet below. And then over time, it goes into the storm system. They're released at a slower rate than going straight into that inlet and right directly down into the pipe.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got 5 more minutes left. Is there anyone else that wants to come up to address the council? Is that okay? Sure. There you go. Just know you can't go 10 minutes.
You're insinuating that I've done that before. Hi, I'm Amy Riggs. I live at 6 Pembroke Drive. So what I'm gonna address tonight is number 7, since nobody's really talked about that yet. My question for the council is, and or that our city engineer, what's the principle, what's the premise behind that? How do we get to that on number 7? Just out of curiosity, do you guys know, council members?
So the recommendation of the study.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the recommendation of the study. I mean, the original way the stormwater ordinance were written, this was how it was written. I was doing design at the time, and I know what I had to design to at the time. And so people have, installed, patios and park and, driveway extensions that don't require permits, and that increases the impervious area of their site, but that's not getting regulated. And then they're getting credited for that when they take it out and put in, an addition on the house or something. And so it's a way to capture that, because it wasn't being accounted for, but now they're getting a credit for it.
Okay,
No worries.
that makes some sense in this, in that if there's nothing that piece of property is affecting, and it's been that way. So I'll use my parents' property as an example that was 100 by 200. And nothing ever changed on that as far as when we put additions on. So if it's not affecting any neighbor, why can we not use that net zero? Why can't we use that? Again, no neighbors have complained in any of these areas.
How do you know that?
No, that's what I'm saying. If we don't use number 7 the way that it's intended right now, as the way that it's written, we can't recapture those spaces. So if your lot's already over, okay, and you have a 20 by 20 foot patio and you want to put an addition there, and you're gonna follow all the rules for how we're capturing, the water as far as the downspouts and where they're going and everything else. Why can't we keep that? Because what I find that is that I understand that code changes and it obviously it needs to, but why punish people who have already put the money in to their lots, or punish people who have lived it here this whole time and their neighbors got to do it, but now they can't? I'm struggling to understand. Does anybody have any kind of feedback as far as that goes? I mean, again, the net zero part, right? What do you think? Thoughts?
I don't have anything.
No? Okay, So I think that it's important that people who own property in the city of Kirkwood understand what number 7 does to their property. If they want to, for instance, replace the patio, we put patio under maintenance yet, or is just driveways under maintenance? So if
I mean,
there-
maintenance is any kind of impervious structure that, maintenance is any kind of impervious structure that needs to be maintained.
Okay, good, all right, so patios are gonna count. If we have to replace them, because they're bad,
If it's in the same footprint, yeah,
same footprint, okay. good.
material doesn't matter.
Right, and in that same footprint, do we have to have that engineered, or are we just allowed to do it as long as it's?
It's a maintenance problem.
Okay, cool, perfect. So I just think it's really important to see how that unintended consequence comes with number 7, because it's a big one. And it's, when you're talking about Kirkwood, you have to remember also, I mean, people have lived here forever, you know, and so it's important that if they know that these people have gotten to do that same thing, I think they should be able to too. Now,
Yeah.
when we're talking about the new stuff, anything that you're gonna, you know, that's okay, that can go fall under our new law or our new ordinance. But when you're talking about an existing piece of property, really please understand what that net zero is, because it's important.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. If somebody did not get to speak and wishes they could have, please, contact our clerk, as I said before, Lori Ashley. Lori will make sure that we get all the information to council. But we want to thank you very much. This is very important for all of us. We will, be able to debate this, with a lot of good information now. So thank you very much for your time.
So I use the QR code. I see that red and green now. Is that part of it?
So that's not a direct, yeah, so.
That's
That's, yeah, so that only goes to the summary of the.